Morning and welcome to this weekend edition of the newspaper show right here on ET Now. I'm Shell D'Souza and I'll get you the top stories that's there on the Economic Times for you. So let's get going with the top 10 headlines that's there in the newspaper. First up is Ravi Shankar Prasad. He's saying that India took a lead to protect data. Moving on, experts are talking about Microsoft and TikTok deal, and they're saying that the Microsoft TikTok deal may not face tax in India. Talking about a mishap that happened late last night, and that is of Air India plane that skid off the runway. 16 are feared dead. Moving on to SBI Chief and 3 MDs to appear for top job interview. US Pharma order worries Indian companies. Talking about Google, they may buy stake in PolicyBazaar. Moving on to sports then, BCCI Dalal India aimed for IPL title sponsorship. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is saying that national education policy focuses on how to think. Jindal says that the government should ensure Vodafone-Idea survives. And lastly, RBI has formed an expert committee, 5-member loan revamp panel under KV Kamath. Those are the top 10 headlines that we have for you this morning from the Economic Times. Let me shift focus now to the market headlines that's there in the ET. And first up, it is Mindspace Reit lists at 11% premium. You have crude prices that slip on demand, post gain for the week. Street positive on HPCL, post strong Q1 earnings. D Street recoups losses to end in the green. And brokerages see scope for one more rate cut. Alright, from market now on to the corporate headlines that's there in the paper. And first up, it is Murugappa Group to invest 700 crore rupees in CG Power. Vodafone-Idea exploring fundraising options. Big PEs in talk to buy into malls. You have Mahindra Mahindra Q1 net down 97% due to COVID impact. And lastly, you have business confidence index falls 40% in Q1. All right, and those are the top headlines that we have for you this morning from the Economic Times. So let's get going with the top story that's there in the ET. And I'm going to talk first about this particular headline here. And this is talking about the SBI top job and who all are applying for it. So SBI Chief, 3 MDs to appear for the top job interview. Move to call incumbent Chairman Rajneesh Kumar may signal extension for him. So what is this story exactly about? I'll read it directly off the paper for you. And the government has asked the SBI Chairman Rajneesh Kumar to appear for an interview to fill the position that he would be vacating in this October, signaling that one more term is possible for him. 3 managing directors of the country's largest lender, that's Dinesh Kumar Khara, you have Arijit Basu as well as CS Shetty, that are also likely to be interviewed for the top job. So this is in the Economic Times this morning, and the interview will be conducted online by the bank's board bureau on August 18th or the 19th. This is what the sources have told Economic Times. So there you go. Rajneesh Kumar all set his term set to end on October 7th. And he's also going to be interviewing for the top job along with 3 other SBI MDs. Now let's shift focus on to another story that's there on the page 1 of Economic Times, and this is about Google that may buy stake in PolicyBazaar, and what is the quantum and will the deal fructify? To talk more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Chandra. Good morning, Chandra. Take us through this big story that's there in the Economic Times this morning that looks like Google's India search throws up PolicyBazaar's name. That's the headline in Economic Times this morning.
That's right, Cheryl. Good morning. Weeks after Google invested in Jio as part of their India Digitization Fund allocation, there is now news that Google is also looking to acquire a minority stake in online insurance platform PolicyBazaar, which is backed by SoftBank and others. Now, this is part of its goal to invest $10 billion in India over the next 5 to 7 years. So it's going to come out of its Google for India Digitization Fund and they are keen on acquiring about 10% of PolicyBazaar and could invest up to 150 million. And as part of this, SoftBank, which holds a 15% stake in PolicyBazaar, may make a partial exit. Of course, this is a source-based story by the Economic Times, so SoftBank and Google haven't responded to any queries. But this is going to be an interesting one. A lot of people are talking about how there is a lot of interest in online insurance, how it's going to gain traction over the next few years. And PolicyBazaar is already a unicorn. So it will be interesting to see how the Google infusion really helps their growth story. And it also tells you about the increasing interest we are seeing from global internet giants such as Facebook, Google, and Microsoft in the India story. Because remember, this is the world's fastest growing internet market. So I guess this is the next big deal to watch out for as far as the unicorn and internet space in India is concerned. Back to you.
Chandra, this is one of the big stories that we need to keep following up on, that Google is eyeing stake in PolicyBazaar. But let's talk about specifically about PolicyBazaar, and looks like that particular company is looking to raise funds via an IPO. What are you picking up on that particular front?
Yeah, so PolicyBazaar's CEO Yashish Dahiya has been talking about going public for some time. We have asked him about this in our interviews as well, and they've always focused on profitability. So that's been their goal, and they were planning to go IPO next year. So I think this might be a pre-IPO round, as part of which they are planning to secure about $250 million in funding. So the Google investment will be part of that. And the entire transaction will value the unicorn at over $3.5 billion. So the IPO timeline that they have is around September 2021. That's the timeline that Yashish Dahiya, the founder of PolicyBazaar, has been talking about. So that will be a good exit for many investors. Also, one of its early investors is Info Edge, which also owns Naukri and stakes in Zomato, among others. So when it goes public, it will certainly be one of the few internet unicorns to go public, and it will give a good exit to investors. But that's more than a year away, only likely to happen by September 2021. So this could be a pre-IPO round of sorts.
All right. Thank you, Chandra, for taking us through the story in detail, talking about how Google may look to buy stake in PolicyBazaar. That's there in the Economic Times this morning for you. Let's shift focus now on to page one, and that's an exclusive interview, and that is of the Telecom and IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad. And what is the Telecom Minister saying? He's saying that India's move to ban TikTok and other Chinese apps is resonating globally. He spoke exclusively to Economic Times, and Prasad said that India has taken the lead in ensuring data security and sovereignty of its citizen. And also he's saying that US President Donald Trump has taken note of this move in his executive orders. He was speaking actually a day after US President Donald Trump issued a separate executive order for banning US residents from transacting with ByteDance. That's the owner of the popular video sharing app, that's TikTok, and also Tencent-owned WeChat app. The order takes effect in 45 days. This is what the Donald Trump's executive order is. Also, talking about more about this, the telecom minister is saying that he's committed to complying with local laws, including on data privacy and security. He's also saying that Ministry of Electronics and IT successfully executed blocking. That's the word coming in from Rs. Prasad. TikTok has meanwhile said they're awaiting feedback from Indian government to allay any concerns. So there you go. Telecom Minister saying that India's move to protect data is resonating globally. And that's the word coming in from the Telecom Minister in Economic Times. That's an exclusive interview. Let's talk about now staying with TikTok and what exactly are the experts actually talking about it. You have that on page one of Economic Times. The Microsoft TikTok deal may not face tax in India. That's the word coming in from experts. TikTok faces bumps in the United States, but that particular deal with Microsoft may not get local tax stops. Any acquisition by Microsoft of TikTok that includes the video streaming applications, India's business, is unlikely to incur tax locally. That's the word coming in from officials and the experts. So under the controversial 2012 retrospective tax amendment that ensnared Vodafone, indirect taxes of Indian assets are taxable even if deals are executed overseas. However, this is triggered only when the value of the Indian asset is more than half that of the total transaction. Although TikTok has a large subscriber base in India, pegged at about 200 million subscribers in India, the value of the business is much lower than much below the threshold that's there as per the rules. The bulk of TikTok's value is derived from its operations in the United States. TikTok was recently valued at $30 to $50 billion, that is as per reports. So there you go, that's another story that's there in the Economic Times for you, talking about the Microsoft and TikTok deal. Now let's shift focus on to the sports section, and that is about the IPL. And looks like the BCCI has actually dialed in for India Inc. to come in for IPL's title sponsorship. The top officials at BCCI are busy making calls to top corporates to loosen their purses strings for the title sponsorship of the Indian Premier League, that is the IPL. This comes after the most sought after property was left without a title sponsor due to Vivo's sudden exit. Sources in the BCCI have confirmed to Economic Times that the board has approached the Tatas, Ambani's as Reliance Industries Limited, and the Adani Group, as well as Amazon, Byju's and Dream11 for a possible sponsorship deal. People involved in the negotiations said that the BCCI has offered up to 50% discount for this particular rights. They also said so far it has not received any affirmative response. BCCI is likely to issue an expression of intent for the title rights and not initiate a full tender process, given that there is not much time left. This is as per sources. So there you go. BCCI is actually dialing in the India Inc. for the title sponsorship for the IPL. Ambani, Tatas, Adanis have been approached. They are also in talks with Byju's as well as Amazon. So that is what's coming latest on that particular front in the Economic Times. But let's shift focus now to another story, and that is talking about CG Power and Murugappa Group. To talk more on that particular story that's there in the Economic Times, I'm joined by my colleague Vivek. Vivek, looks like Murugappa Group company, Tube Investments, will be investing 700 crore rupees to acquire majority stake in CG Power and Industrial Solutions. Give us more details on this particular transaction.
Well, that's right. So you're talking about CG Power. Remember, this particular company has a slight hangover given the fact that there have been financial irregularities that is being probed by the regulators within this particular company. So while all of this is happening, the lenders have been very keen that this particular company that has a significant amount of debt on its book is able to sell its business, given the fact that it has a significant amount of business as far as both power as well as industrial equipment solutions is concerned. So while the company itself is on the block, and what the entire deal process is actually handing out to be is that the Murugappa Group company, and this particular company is the Tube Investments company. This particular company is listed on the stock exchanges. So what we understand from the Economic Times today is that Tube Investments would be looking to invest close to 700 crore. Out of the 700 crore, 550 crore will be in equity shares, and another 150 crore would be in convertible warrants, and most likely the warrants would be converted within the next 18 months. So once the warrants are converted to equity, the stake of Tube Investments within CG Power would go above 51%. That would be the controlling stake. So now, how we look at it is that other bidders have time up till August 28 to go ahead and improve on the bid made by Murugappa Group. So in case there is a higher bid, then Tube Investments or Murugappa Group have the ability, or they have the right to go ahead and match the higher bid. So right now, this particular stake has been won by Tube Investments. August 28th is when this particular transaction will get more clear after the entire process is done.
All right, Vivek, thank you for taking us through that particular development. Remember, that particular development came in towards, I think, market closing yesterday. Let's talk about now Vodafone-Idea, and the company has launched a restructuring drive to save 4,000 crore rupees on an annualized basis over the next 18 months. So Vodafone-Idea is actually exploring fundraising options and is awaiting for the Supreme Court order on the payments of AGR dues before deciding the amount that is required for them to raise. The company has started a restructuring drive, like I said, to help save 4,000 crore rupees on an annualized basis over the next 18 months. The step includes cutting IT costs, centralizing decision-making, lowering distribution costs by pushing digital recharges and automating functions. Analysts have said that the telecom company, that's Vodafone-Idea, may actually shed more 2,000 jobs. We are waiting for a conclusion as far as the AGM matter is concerned, which will give us a clarity on what kind of fundraising requirements we have. That is what the CFO of Vodafone-Idea said. And looks like they have launched a restructuring drive to save 4,000 crore rupees on an annualized basis over the next 18 months. That is the latest coming in from Vodafone-Idea. And now let's shift focus to a developing story, and that is about the COVID-19 vaccine. And the Serum Institute of India, who has been granted permission to conduct the Phase 2 and Phase 3 clinical trials of Oxford vaccine, has announced the pricing of the said vaccine, and it is set at $3 per dose in low and middle income countries. This will be called COVID Shield in India and will cost around 225 rupees per dose. Moreover, Biocon's Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw has said that India has a huge role to play in global COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing and rebuild its healthcare sector for the world. Speaking at ET Global Town Hall, the entrepreneur also said that the country's science laboratories have shown tremendous potential in developing COVID-19 testing kits during the past 3 to 4 months, and it was rewarding to the potential unleashed by India's life sciences sector. And that is what is coming in latest on the Serum Institute, and as well as what Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw has to tell about the healthcare sector in India. All right then, and let's now shift focus on to another story that's there in the Economic Times for you this morning, and it is talking about the Mahindra and Mahindra AGM. Remember, Mahindra and Mahindra gave out his Q1 earnings yesterday, and also they had their AGM yesterday. And what's latest coming in from the AGM? Let's hear out the management themselves.
The COVID crisis is just the latest in a long line of the worst of times. There's no gainsaying the enormous erosive effect of this pandemic. The world stopped. Our lives have been turned upside down. The economy faces an uncertain future, and the poor have been the hardest hit. Frankly, it was heartbreaking to see migrant families walking home without food, without water, daily wage earners deprived of their daily bread, old folks imprisoned in their homes, and yet it's a paradox how the worst of times can often bring out the best in us.
Right, and that is what the management of Mahindra & Mahindra had to say in their AGM yesterday. They came out with their earnings. Definitely, the earnings were actually hit by the COVID-19 impact, and that is why you saw a drop in their numbers. And that is a similar trend coming in from most of the countries, most of the automakers. But here's take a look at what is the top headlines in the Times of India for you on your screen. 5, and those are the top headlines that's there on the Times of India this morning. But let me now shift focus to a mishap that took place last evening in Kerala, and this is about the Air India Express plane that skid off the runway. 16 after dead, and that number is increasing this morning. We had also reports saying that 18 after dead. The aircraft actually broke apart while landing at Kozhikode Airport amid heavy rains and strong winds. The Air India Express Boeing 737 broke apart after going off the runway at Kozhikode Airport in heavy rain on late Friday. At least 16 people, including the pilots, were killed, according to news reports. There was no actually official tally when the story went to press, but this morning reports are coming in of 18 feared dead. The Vande Bharat flight from Dubai was carrying 190 people, which including 184 passengers. That's the word coming in from the Civil Aviation Ministry. The accident took place at 7:41 p.m. That's the time given in by the ministry. About 3 hours after the crash, all but 2 of the passengers had evacuated from the plane, with the rains actually hampering the rescue efforts. The plane made 2 unsuccessful attempts to land and thwarted rain and by strong winds. That's what people said of the knowledge. All right, so let's go through a walkthrough by actually one of my colleagues on this particular report. Just watch it.
I'm standing at the rear side of the airport at the right spot where the accident took place. If you can just see on the screen, this is the wall, the rear side wall, and you can just see in the visuals the front side of the cockpit where actually the flight actually got barged in, and you can see the portion which is completely destroyed at this point of time. This whole wall has been damaged in the force with which the flight actually barged inside. Remember, this is the rear side of this particular airport, and it is a 35 feet high, a 35 feet high airport. This is the side where the accident took place. Remember, 19 people have lost their life in this mishap, and as you can see on the visual, you can see the damaged part of the airplane over here. You can also see there are security personnel over here, and we are not allowed to enter inside this point of time. Remember, this is a tabletop runway which is 35 feet high on either side, and this particular Air India Express IX 1344 actually barged in this, has lost its control and skipped off from the runway and just fell into this gorge, which is 35 feet down from the top. And as you can see on the visual, this is the rendezvous point 3. This is actually the rear side of the airport, and you can see there are security personnel over here, and you're not supposed to enter this area at this point of time. And what we understand is that the incident took place exactly at 7:42, and when the incident took place, it's only the local people over here and also the police who actually managed to do the rescue operations, and they actually took all the people who were there, who were actually inside this area, inside this aeroplane, and they took them to the nearby the hospitals.
And that is the update coming in from the Air India Express mishap. That was our reporter taking you through the details of that. Let's shift focus now on to COVID-19, and on the tally front. India's COVID-19 tally in August is highest in the world so far. Record 926 fatalities and over 61,000 cases were reported on a Friday. Number 3 in deaths this month. That is what is the reports also saying. India is emerging as the biggest COVID-19 hotspot in the world. In August, the country has so far recorded the most number of cases this month, slightly more than the United States and substantially higher than the infections reported in Brazil. India has the world's third highest death toll from the virus in the first 6 days of August itself. The coronavirus pandemic continues to surge across the nation. So definitely a cause of worry coming in from COVID-19, but definitely need to focus. The rate of recovery is much higher in India.